Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa on France 24. I'm Clarisse Fortuné and here's the top stories from across the continent. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announced their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court, calling it a tool of neo-colonial repression. They say the ICC ignores Africa's realities. Fleeing war, facing disease, as cholera spreads through all of Sudan's 18 states. 500,000 people have fled the city El Fasher with no shelter, and the Red Cross sounds the alarm. We speak to the RCRC. And it's a big win for Ousmane Dembélé, who makes history with the Ballon d'Or, his triumph sending waves of pride all the way to Senegal. So we start with this unprecedented decision. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger are turning their backs on the International Criminal Court. The three Sahel nations accuse the ICC of being an instrument of neo-colonial repression, a tool of foreign domination, they say, that ignores their rights and realities. They've now announced their withdrawal from the court. Dilano de Souza has the details.
It's a landmark decision for three West African states. Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso pulling out of the International Criminal Court. According to them, the ICC has an anti-African bias. The move places the three junta-led states at odds with their former colonial power, France, and regional alliances like ECOWAS.
This jurisdiction has been transformed into an instrument of neo-colonial repression in the hands of imperialism, thus becoming a global example of selective justice. The ICC has indeed proven incapable of addressing and prosecuting confirmed war crimes, crimes against humanity, acts of genocide, and crimes of aggression.
The decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court comes months after a similar move from Hungary, and the process is set to last at least a year. The ICC was created in 2002 to pursue cases of genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes and aggression. The timing of the move from Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso come as they collectively forge closer ties with Russia, a country whose president faces an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. Since its inception, the ICC has launched 33 cases, and all but one have involved an African state.
Sudan's conflict is pushing civilians into deeper suffering after more than 2 years of civil war. Now, a cholera epidemic has spread across all 18 states, and health workers are overwhelmed. The International Committee of the Red Cross is warning that unless violence against civilians stops, the humanitarian situation will spiral further out of control. With us now is Patrick Youssef from the RCRC to discuss the crisis. Welcome. Mr. Youssef, so a few days ago, the UN launched a cholera vaccination campaign. So what's the latest on the outbreak?
Well, as you've said, Sudan is sadly now facing its worst cholera outbreak in years. According to the Ministry of Health, more than 2,500 people have died and over 100,000 suspected cases are reported. And that's mainly due to the collapse of social services and the infrastructure. You know, without clean water from clean sources, without hospitals or clinics, containing the spread becomes very, very problematic. We're trying to help. The ICRC, but also the Sudanese Red Crescent are supporting efforts in Khartoum, Sennar, Gedaref, North and East Darfur, enabling the treatment of around 18,000 patients.
So what's left of the health facilities across the country?
Well, you know, between 70 and 80% of health centers, according to the World Health Organization, have ceased to function. This is due, again, to violence, the repeated attacks against the medical mission, against medical personnel and facilities, and the disregard of the laws of war. 80% is more than just a statistic. As you can imagine, it means that mothers give birth without assistance, children do not receive the vital vaccination, and people with life-threatening illnesses do not receive treatment. So it's extremely worrying.
So let's talk about the specific case, El Fasher. Tell us about the situation in El Fasher. The city in the western region has been under siege for nearly 18 months now by paramilitaries. It's considered as the worst battleground of Sudan's civil war.
You know, it's a particular situation in Fasher, which is every day deteriorating. It's a serious, critical situation for hundreds of thousands of people that are trapped, including a large number of displaced families from previous armed conflicts, who basically have no access to adequate nutrition nor health services. You know, except for one hospital, and that's Al Saudi Hospital, there are no medical facilities to care for those injured or simply for those who have curable diseases. You know, when the report of the United Nations say that nearly 40% of children under 5 are now acutely malnourished, and when our teams on the ground are unable to help those in need, we consider this situation to be extremely dangerous. And we therefore, as we've done in the previous past, keep calling for those who have a capacity to provide access to humanitarian organizations to do so, but also to respect the laws of war and protect those people from the fighting and the impact of the increasing violence.
Patrick Youssef, thank you very much. Situation getting from bad to worse every day. Patrick Youssef from the RCRC Regional Director for Africa. Thank you very much. Now to politics in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The President of the National Assembly, Vital Kamerhe, has resigned from his position before a vote of no confidence could take place. It's a move that could have serious political implications. Emmett Livingston in Kinshasa has more.
Members of Congolese President Félix Tshisekedi's political coalition have been pushing to get rid of the President of the National Assembly, Vital Kamerhe, arguing that he mismanaged funds. And on Monday evening, before a no-confidence vote could take place in the Assembly, Kamerhe resigned. The question now is what next? Kamerhe is both a political heavyweight and a chameleon who served under former President Joseph Kabila before switching sides to ally with President Tshisekedi. He's also one of the few senior leaders from eastern Congo, parts of which are currently occupied by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels.
Kamerhe is something of a prototype for a resilient politician. He was Secretary General of the PPRD and President of the National Assembly before being ousted. He joined the opposition under Kabila and became close to Tshisekedi and the UDPS. He returned to favour in 2018 through his alliance with President Félix Tshisekedi, but the 100-day corruption affair quickly led to his imprisonment. He resigned to return on the eve of the 2023 election alongside the president, but now we're witnessing yet another downfall. Will he rise again like the phoenix from the ashes, or will this be the final blow that brings his career to an end? Only time will tell. He's an individual who's survived various crises in the past.
Kamerhe is seen as someone who could contest the presidency one day, making him a political threat. But speaking from New York, President Tshisekedi told reporters that they remained political allies. Publicly, Kamerhe has said the same. But many observers will be waiting to see whether he becomes a fully fledged member of Congo's opposition.
It's so far an overwhelming yes in Guinea. Partial results from Guinea's constitutional referendum show that over 90% of voters support a new constitution, an outcome that also clears the way for the junta leader Mamadi Doumbouya to run for president. Regional correspondent Kathleen Cayley explains.
Authorities reported turnout of more than 91% in over 80% of polling stations, well above the 50% threshold needed for the long-awaited referendum in Guinea. The vote was closely watched, with critics calling it a power grab and opposition parties urging a boycott. Many saw this referendum as a way for General Mamadi Doumbouya, who seized power by force 4 years ago, to seek the presidency and legitimise his rule, though he has not said whether he will run for election in December. Observers from civil society said the referendum was relatively peaceful compared to last elections, though they noted the patchy internet access. But other rights groups accused the military regime of silencing dissent and dissolving opposition parties just ahead of the vote. The ballot itself was organised by a newly created electoral body whose 2 heads were appointed by Doumbouya, raising further questions about independence. Still, some Guineans view the outcome as a step towards the long-promised transition to civilian rule.
Now, a word of sport in the world of football. Ousmane Dembélé and Aitana Boumati wrote their names into the history books after winning the Ballon d'Or. Ousmane Dembélé was praised for his skills in leading Paris Saint-Germain to its first Champions League title, a triumph that has filled Senegal with pride. His mother has even hinted at the celebratory tour of Senegal, much to the delight of many fans in Dakar.
It's a source of pride for all Senegalese people. It's been a long time since a player of African origin won the Ballon d'Or. We're really happy about it.
His teammates were there, but he fought hard and gave his all to win this award. It's an honor for us as Africans and as Senegalese too.
Well, congratulations again to Ousmane Dembélé and Aitana Boumati. And that concludes today's edition for Eye on Africa. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you do so again. Stay tuned to France 24.